1,000 miles off the coast of Ecuador lies an archipelago unlike any other, the Galapagos Islands. These islands, immortalized by Charles Darwin, host an incredible collection of biodiversity. However, like other irreplaceable ecosystems around the world, this paradise also faces significant threats: invasive species, climate change, and the ever-growing human footprint. I spoke with Fernando, a seasoned diver, marine biologist, and naturalist guide, about his most impactful projects here in the Galapagos.
We shot the first underwater video of the Galapagos Islands shot by Ecuadorians. And we made a documentary, a short documentary called What Charles Darwin Did Not See. And, we just gave it away. The idea was to try to let people know what we had here. The Galapagos Marine Reserve was under discussion at the time, and people didn't really know what to do with it. Some people wanted to make it into a marine resources reserve, basically a place for fishing and hunting and doing that kind of stuff. So that particular documentary basically brought the underwater Galapagos to all the Ecuadorians' dining area, all the living rooms. Everybody was talking about it. And basically, we could push for the current degree of protection that the Galapagos Marine Reserve has. Our biggest problem is actually the introduced foreign species. That is our biggest problem, by far. Okay, tourism you can manage, but if certain parasites or insects or things like that come in here, an entire population of birds, not only boobies, but seabirds can just disappear, or sea lions can just disappear, things like that. So we really need to reinforce the capacity the authorities have to somehow filter the organisms coming in here. We need that. We need other strategies as well. They do already inspections in the airports and in the ports where the cargo ships depart from the Ecuadorian mainland. But we need to do some other things that are more organic. Why bringing fruit and vegetable from the mainland if we can grow fruit and vegetable here? During the pandemic, there were no flights, there were no ships, just because of the situation. They had to send more than once airplanes with cargo so we could survive on the islands. There was no food. No food. That's it. We ate bananas, plantains, and fish. That's it. But a few of the locals realized that there was an opportunity there to make some money growing vegetables, and they are doing it. We need to have more of that, for example. Yeah, we need more of that. So, yeah, there are some subjects that need to be discussed in more detail, with an open mind. People here, sometimes they are not, and this is a characteristic of people who live on islands. They are not really very open-minded, I have to say. Sorry, friends, I already said it.
Fernando's comment about local communities struggling to be open-minded was spot on. As an American, I can definitely relate to this idea. However, I'm curious if farming would have a negative impact on the natural landscape of the Galapagos.
That's a really good point, and thank you for bringing it. The way of doing agriculture in Galapagos, because of the experience from the pandemic onwards, has been using greenhouses and hydroponics. And those strategies don't require large amounts of land. No, there is no problem there. With the farmland that we have right now, we could more than feed our locals and all our visitors, by far. No problem. What we need to do is, again, not be closed to new technologies and just go into there, explore it, and use it. Some people have already done it and they are doing quite well, but we need more of that.
Fernando then shared a story about how an open-minded approach to learning new strategies revitalized a struggling lobster population.
How do you face a problem like that? The number of lobster was declining. Okay, why was this? Because the previous way to harvest lobster by law was using spears. Even though there were some conservation measures over there, like size, they had to be a minimum size of a lobster, which means that the animal has already reproduced a couple of times before you capture it, number one. And number two, it also had to be, it couldn't be a female carrying eggs. Okay, those two are very important parts of the population that you need to protect. Even though that was in place, they could use spears, and they normally catch the spiny lobster at night. And I'm a diver, so I know that it's really not possible if the lobster is inside a cave, you know, to see if that animal is the right size. How do you do it? Just by looking at it and having a spear over here, you know, or you cannot tell if the female is carrying eggs. So you just shoot it, you kill it, and then you realize, oh, it's too small, oh, it's carrying eggs. It didn't work. So basically, that was the problem. And we made locals realize that that was a problem that was going to affect them in the future. We invited fishermen from other parts of the world where the lobster fishery is well managed, so they could share experiences, not with scientists, but with other fishermen, people who did exactly the same stuff. They made a living in exactly the same way, and that had been successful, doing implementing certain strategies. So sure enough, we made them change their mind regarding what to do and how to capture lobster. All right. And then when it took us about 3 years to implement the whole thing, ever since the fourth year, the numbers of the lobster population started going up. And also the number of lobster that were captured by the authorities that didn't have the right size almost disappeared. People were not doing that anymore. So, it works, and it's still working. They forgot about catching lobster the way to do it they used to do it before, and now they are still doing it, and it's good.
While the Galapagos Islands are a unique and fragile ecosystem, the challenges they face are not isolated. Many parts of the world grapple with similar issues of invasive species and habitat loss, and most likely it's happening in your backyard as well. What I learned from Fernando is that one of the keys to addressing these challenges lies in raising awareness and educating local communities. By fostering a culture of environmental stewardship, we can work together to protect our planet for future generations.